Okay, hi everyone. I'm Adam Rogers with the Libraries, and I'm happy to welcome you here tonight. We in the Libraries are really excited to showcase the work of some amazing students in the Master of Art and Design program. In my background here, you can see our new library space, the Innovation Studio in Hill Library, where we'll also be showing these students' work in the coming weeks. In normal times, we would love to be hosting this event in person with you in the library, but these are not normal times, and we are very happy to have you here with us on Twitch. So now I'll invite Professor Tanya Allen to share more about our program. Tanya is an Associate Professor of Art and Design and Director of Graduate Programs in Art and Design.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I want to thank Adam and the NCSU Libraries for helping us put this together and for their ongoing dedication to preserving and showcasing student research through the Innovation Studio. Thanks especially, in addition to Adam, to Aaron, Claire, and Ian for all lending a lot of support to this event. So welcome everyone to the final project presentations for the Master of Art and Design program, or as we call it, the MAD program, in the College of Design at NC State. And thank you all for being here today. We have a great group of student presenters and invited guests. And first, I want to say congratulations to all of the students whose work you're about to see. I'm really proud of what is about to be shown here today and the work that was done under extremely challenging circumstances. Not only did the students persevere, but the dedication to developing these projects was really inspiring to see. I also want to thank the dedicated faculty who helped guide them through their final project preparation. Our program, the MAD program, focuses on experimental media arts and as such is very media agnostic and, to borrow an MIT Media Lab term, antidisciplinary. We are dedicated to diversity of thought, diversity of experience, and disciplinary perspective. And I think you'll see that evidenced in the type of research and projects the students are showing in their videos, as well as their unique approach to producing them. We're going to run the presentations back to back, and if you have a Twitch account, please feel free to use the chat feature to make comments or ask questions as the videos are being presented. And after the showcase, I hope that you'll stick around or transfer over to Zoom for an open Zoom session where you can talk more with students whose project and work you found affinity with and or had questions about. The link is in the calendar invitation for those of you who got that, but we'll also put it into the chat at the end of the meeting. So, or the showcase, I should say. So thank you so much for being here and let the show begin.
This is The Change We Seek. This project was created in light of events pertaining to social unrest, as the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many other Black people sparked a nationwide movement for social activism. This rise in activism finally awakened many Americans to the existence of generations of racial inequities in this country, but also revealed how poorly Americans are enlightened on topics of race, as educational institutions in America often avoid forms of cultural education or racial discussion. Thus, this project is made to fill this gap, as it is an animated oral history series that intends to collect and animate significant personal experiences from people of color who have been affected by racial inequities. This creation of animated experiences aims to provide educators with engaging educational content that can be utilized to give students insight into America's racial disparities and cultural history. In this project's first iteration, one animated oral history was created for teachers and students to utilize. As this enhanced oral history, narrated by St. Andrews University admissions counselor Shannon M. Valerie, recounts when she moved from her diverse high school in Texas to a highly segregated one in Gwinnett County, Georgia during the late 80s. In her experience, she details that her move was both a cultural and environmental shock, as her new school was located only 20 minutes away from the birthplace of the KKK and was within a county that sought to maintain segregation by any means, leading to her awkward existence in a predominantly white space that contains subtle acts of white resentment. As displayed in the enhanced narrative, it focuses on how one of her teachers decided not to teach her fundamental techniques in her typing course, an experience that shows how many Black students had to operate in racially biased academic spaces and illustrates how racism is often performed through inadvertent acts, both of which still occur today. It is a narrative that has been paired with further animation and a teaching guide to prime students and instructors with the key information that helps them interpret the narrative intellectually. A segment of this enhanced oral history is available for public viewing on YouTube and is within NC State's Innovation Studio. Take a look for yourself and learn about the change we should all seek.
Comic Book Contextual Reading Guide by Alec Campbell-Barner. My project is a contextual reading guide for comic book literature. Comics have a unique reading format that is different from other forms of literature, such as prose or poetry. My hope is that this platform could better help readers, researchers, and educators with engaging with the unique reading format within comic book periodicals. My platform organizes the complete publishing history of various comic book titles. Every comic title is organized within a contextual reading map within this database. The contextual reading map for every comic is separated within 4 distinct levels. The first level is the runs level, which is defined as the length of time that a writer was on a series. Once I've chosen a particular run, I am transported to the series section of the contextual reading map. Contextual information, such as the first appearance of a character, literary archetypes, new creative teams, and significant stories, are all layered within this section. After choosing a particular series, I am transferred to the chapters section of the contextual reading map. This section organizes the chapters from within that series that I chose. More contextual information is layered within this section. The final section is the issues section of the contextual reading map. The issue section incorporates sociocultural, creative, historical, and rhetorical context about that comic issue.
Hi, my name is Najla Bulous, and this is a walkthrough of my thesis, which is called Mediated Communities, a case study on the relationship between user interfaces and online communities. It was developed and conducted as a part of the Masters in Art and Design program at NC State, completed in spring 2021. Mediated Communities is a research-based project that explores the relationship between online communities of creatives and their host platforms. This project began from an observation that over the past 15 years, online artist platforms have shifted from small community-oriented websites to large social media platforms. Creatives face a unique challenge in using social media platforms to find online communities that facilitate learning, critique, and the sharing of work. Mediated Communities is motivated by the research question, how can the user interface of an online platform facilitate an online community of visual artists? Studying online communities in conjunction with their host platforms allows us to better understand how user interfaces build social affordances that mediate communication between users and influence community-specific behaviors. This problem is explored through secondary research and a pilot case study. The secondary research is split into two sections, the social and the technical. The social explores assumptions and frameworks about online communities, while the technical explores how social media platforms can support online communities through well-designed user interfaces. The pilot case study combines the secondary research with case study design and qualitative survey research to study an online community of practice called Blender Discord, which lives on the multimedia chat room platform Discord. Blender Discord is made up of Blender users, and Blender is a free and open source 3D graphics application. Since social media platforms have different user interfaces, a better understanding of how user interfaces influence online communities can help creatives pick platforms that are better suited to their needs. In addition, I hope that this project shows that studying online communities with their host platforms is valuable and can lead to new insights. Thank you.
Defined as inappropriate or excessive use of artificial light, light pollution is an environmental issue that should not be ignored. While the vanishing starry night has been concerned by many people, our diurnal bias has allowed us to ignore the ecological consequences of light pollution. Light pollution is dramatically disrupting the natural daylight pattern and threatening the survival of wildlife. Every year, millions of hatchling sea turtles attracted to coastal streetlights end up desiccated, crushed, or killed by predators. Artificial light at night can also increase the number of ghost crabs, which are one of the main predators of sea turtle hatchlings and can potentially affect their aggressive and prey-searching behaviors. However, it is difficult for humans to imagine and empathize with the adverse effect of light pollution on these little creatures, since we're so different. By creating an immersive and empathetic VR experience, In Their Eyes aims to provide people an empirical and more immediate experience of the negative impacts of light pollution in the animals' eyes. Players will experience sea turtles' sea-finding behavior by playing the role of a hatchling trying to find a sea under the effect of light pollution. The experience has 4 themes: Start Level, Game Level 1, Education Level, and Game Level 2. The Start Level is where players get familiar with controllers and VR interaction. Game Level 1 is where players do the sea-finding task with light pollution. The education level is where players learn knowledge about light pollution and take actions to help reduce the light pollution in this virtual world. And game level 2 is where players do the sea finding task again without being distracted by light pollution. This level aims to offer a way out of the empathetic pain they got at game level 1. This project will provide a deeper awareness and understanding of the problem, thereby causing people to care more about issue through this experience, with the hope that resultant steps might be taken to prevent this damage from further continuing.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Ortiz, and I will be giving you a walkthrough of my master's thesis. The language of memory is a virtual space in pursuit of revitalizing the Mixtec language. Through audio accounts from people living in the Mexican indigenous diaspora, the viewer will experience the memories of these people born into the Mixtec community in Oaxaca, Mexico. These stories are threaded by the themes of realization, remembrance, and reconnection. Although they are physically far from their place of birth, memories and experiences from their childhoods never leave them.
No enseña pues el dialecto, ellos ya empiezan a enseñar puro español. Entonces, pues yo creo que eso se va acabando, como te digo.
Their first language is at times a memory of tough beginnings, but also serves as a reminder of the Mixtec heritage and all those that came before.
What I'm about to do is walk you guys through my project as it is right now. We'll go through a couple of things here. First, we'll go through the completed pages, and then I'll take you through the storyboards that I have done, or at least like give you a brief overview of the rest of the story. So, a shout out the door. To start off with what it is a graphic novel that explores the effects of PTSD on a young boy after having a terrible experience with sexual assault. His trauma is represented by a shadow that stalks him throughout the story, as we can see here. Can I zoom in on this? Yeah, as you can see here, there is a shadow that stalks him, and this boy Nairobi, he's paranoid. He's freaking out. Doesn't really know what to do. He doesn't know if it's a real thing that's following him or it's all in his head. And for the most part, for the story, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the emotions that I was hoping to get through, which is just that feeling of being stalked or being watched all the time, or having like this dark, shadowy feeling in the pit of your gut after something traumatic happens. And it's hard to explain, but I hope in the project I got the feeling across well. But as we can see in the story, the shadow is stalking him throughout the halls of his school. He bumps into a kid, but he sees that the shadow attached to this kid. This causes him to kind of black out and attack that kid. And then we cut to him in the principal's office. He's got some bruises on him to imply that a fight happened afterwards. And then we get a little bit of an explanation of what's going on here. So for the last 2 weeks, this shadowy thing has been stalking him. And we see a bit of what happened 2 weeks ago. So he's in his bed asleep. The door opens, so we shed some light in there. He thinks it's his mom, but we see the shadow silhouette in front of him. He looks up and he's shocked. And then we see, boom, his abuser with the shadow emanating from him. And then we cut back to the present times. He's kind of shaken out of that flashback by his mom. And he can still see the shadow, but he hesitates in telling her anything because he doesn't know if she'd believe him. And then we get to the principal's office, and that's all in this little preview here.
Hello, my name is Russell Pinkston, and this is the Social Design Toolkit, a thesis project in the Master of Art and Design program at North Carolina State University. Designers are instigators of change, and the decisions they make can impact people's lives in unexpected ways. The ideology behind social design is that designers have a social responsibility to create positive change by prioritizing the needs of people. As Victor Papanek writes, concern for the environment and for the disadvantaged of our society are the most profound and powerful forces with which to shape design. There are several human-centered methodologies in existence across a range of disciplines, but each has its own unique set of constraints, and they don't usually mix. So the Social Design Toolkit is a website which guides designers through a hybrid workflow called participatory design thinking that provides opportunities for these methodologies to overlap. This begins with an investigation into the dimensions of culture and then embeds participatory research into the design thinking workflow using a set of crowdsourced and interactive method cards. Through this, designers would have opportunities to question their process and acknowledge the biases that cloud understanding. The web-based format of the project makes these method cards accessible, dynamic, and sortable depending on the context of the situation. It also allows visitors to contribute new methods, exchange ideas, and make connections. Herbert Simon defines design as courses of action aimed at changing existing situations into preferred ones. And social design is a holistic way of embracing cultural difference and reducing the gap between creators and stakeholders. Through this, designers can give people a greater stake in the decisions that impact their lives. It is through this that we make design accessible and strengthen its output for everyone.
Safe Break is an interactive experience for people with sensory sensitivity to escape to a virtual third place when the outside world is overwhelming. Inspired by VR experiences that emulate the autistic experience and taking cues from VR Chat and Mozilla Hub, SafeBreak, when adaptable by its users, can provide sanctuary and a sense of belonging to those who find it difficult to acclimate to visual and auditory overstimulation. The user interface of SafeBreak is designed to accommodate individuals with varying degrees of ASD functionality. SafeBreak is a simulated coffee shop where players can change the environmental lighting, environmental sounds, and environmental textures and setting. Late into development, a breathing prompt was added to assist players in developing a calming strategy for alleviating anxiety. To create a sense of openness, the furniture, kitchen, ceiling lamps, and even interior walls can be removed per the player's preference. Safebreak is inspired by that desire to want to experience social places like parks, arcades, and coffee shops, just like everyone else.
Shrouded or Kafan, meaning shroud in Arabic, is a transmedia series that explores the universality of loss by integrating organic storytelling with digital technologies to evoke complex emotions. COVID has exposed so many of our fears, has left us to confront loss in different contexts, and has set the stage for me to observe and participate in the very human experience of grief and loss. Over the past 6 months, I set upon recording our collective pandemic experiences through Zoom conversations. These accounts touched upon meaningful life events, including a birth, graduation, a wedding, Ramadan, and a funeral. The project is divided into 2 of 5 possible phases. In phase 1, I examine Instagram as an interactive, ever-evolving platform to dive into deeper, more meaningful content. My prototype integrates Zoom conversations with technologies such as Photoshop, After Effects, and Spark AR, so that audio voices are enhanced by photographs, illustrations, some light animation, and an AR filter, potentially contributing to greater audience engagement. Phase 2 explores the possibilities of a transmedia world and focuses on a podcast as a medium to maximize the impact of candid conversations, spoken word, and auditory reflections. The Shrouded podcast has 10 episodes, 3 of which are ready to publish. One episode, I Hear Her Voice, is about perseverance and strength as my sister and I speak for the first time about details of our mother's mental illness. In Driveway Wedding, my niece and nephew-in-law discuss the challenges of getting married amidst the pandemic in their very COVID ceremony that took place in my sister's driveway. In Election Depression, Election Elation, 2 friends discuss their anxieties on the day of the 2020 election and recall what it was like exactly this moment 4 years prior. With phase 1 and 2 complete, the next venture is a multimedia installation set to be exhibited later this year, where the Instagram page, podcast, and a series of lyrical essays come together as a unified whole. The hope is that eventually these parts find a home on my website. Shrouded is built upon the foundation of interactive, collaborative, transmedia storytelling while memorializing memories that speak of who we are. I see this project, once viewed in its entirety, as a multifaceted series that celebrates human experiences at a time in history when we are all allowed to grieve and grow as one.